Hey YouTube. So, sorry I don't have a tripod, but I feel like the Lord wanted me to make a video, and I feel like He led me to this place specifically, and as soon as I got out of my car, God confirmed it. So, I'll get to that in a minute. But I wanted to say, you know, what is the bottom line of all this shutdown and all the things that we're dealing with currently? It's really quite simple. You know, I've heard every theory there is, I think, by now. I've heard martial law. I've heard that it's, you know, the body reacting to 5G, and that it, you know, causes the oxygen in your body to be depleted, things like that. I've heard that Bill Gates wants to depopulate the earth and mandatory vaccine everybody. I've heard that hospitals are full. I've heard that hospitals are empty. You know, I've heard every conspiracy that there is. But what is the bottom line of this whole thing? And I think it's really quite simple. You know, Revelation 13, He causes all, both small and great, free and bond, rich and poor, to receive a mark in their hand or in their forehead. And, you know, despite what the cause or the source or whatever of this thing is, that is absolutely the direction that this will go. And you can mark my words, that is what this is going to be. It may not happen now, but it will happen. And eventually you will have to take a mark in your hand or in your forehead in order to participate in this economy. And I feel like the Lord was telling me about Egypt today. So I've been thinking on Egypt a lot. And the Bible says several things about Egypt. And, you know, it talks about how God delivered the people out of the land of Egypt, and how they went to the wilderness. When I got here, I parked the car, and I felt like the Lord wanted me to read about Joshua and Caleb, because the Lord delivered the people out of Egypt, and He sent the spies into the land to spy out the land to see if they would go in the land. And I just wanted, you know, to show you this, that our economy is based on Egypt. You know, the pyramid. I mean, there's all kinds of people that have broken down what the dollar means and all this kind of stuff, but there's a pyramid on the back, and I've been to the pyramids. So, as far as Egypt is a picture of the world. Egypt is a picture of sin and slavery and the flesh. And, you know, God sent Joshua and Caleb in to spy out the promised land, the land that was promised to the Israelites, to the children of Abraham. And I find it quite interesting that He led me here. I'm in a wilderness, and I came here specifically because I didn't want to be interrupted by people. And Joshua and Caleb went into the land. They spied it out. They said it was a good land. They came back, and the people rebelled and gave an evil report. And God said that that whole generation would die in the wilderness. And I believe the Lord confirmed that I'm supposed to be where I'm supposed to be, because I'm in a wilderness, and immediately in front of my car were a bunch of bones. So tell me if the Lord drove me here or not to talk on this. Because here's the issue. The mark of the beast, it is separating you from relying on God or relying on the system, relying on, you know, man's economy, relying on the New World Order, relying on this, right? So, something happened today that, you know, I intend to walk what I talk. And today, the company that I've worked for several years, I believe it's 3+ years, that company folded. That company went under. And several people got laid off today unexpectedly, and they got to go looking for new jobs. But the boss kept me and the mechanic, someone who I'm friends with, and going to restructure us under a 1099 system. And the reason that that's relevant is that I've been thinking about this and how to say this, but I've been actively tithing for months, and there's times where I've been in doubt and unbelief about it and tried to rely on myself. But now I look at it and I find that in a time where many people are unemployed, many people are losing their businesses, many people are going under and looking to the government for unemployment or looking for this stimulus check to come their way. When I've been giving, all of a sudden I've got job security when people around me don't. And I'm not condemning anyone who's out of a job right now, but the point that I want to make is that the entire purpose of the mark of the beast is to separate those that trust God from those that are looking to the government and the world for their provision. So, what else was I going to say about that? I just got my last check before the boss goes to restructure with only 2 people. And I'm going to tithe off my last check. And I don't say that to brag, but I say that as an example that I'm looking to God as my provision. And I don't know if it's showing up on the microphone, but, there's been a bird singing over here. And, it makes me think about, the sparrows. How much more are you valuable than many sparrows? And I was reading a couple days ago about the disciples when Jesus went to, I believe it was Peter and Andrew, and he said, "Follow me, I will make you fishers of men." And those 2 left their only provision, their only job, to follow Jesus. So the time that we're coming into, it's really a separation of where your trust is. Are you trusting the system, or are you just throwing yourself at God's feet and getting out of your self-reliance, which I've been so guilty of. Like so many times I've been relying on self. But in the time coming, you either rely on God or you fall to the system. And I was thinking about all the people of the New Testament, they gave God their very lives, not just 10% of their income, or not just a little bit of time or whatever. They gave them their very lives. And even Jesus surrendered his very life to God. He trusted the body that he was living in, the everything that he had, he trusted to the Father, and he trusted that the Father would raise him from the dead. All the apostles went on to be martyred except for John. I'm just saying, in this time where, people are on quarantine and the economy is changing and shifting all around us, this is designed to separate sheep from goats, wheat from tares, because wheat and tares look a lot alike. And I'm scared for the people. I mean, I'm not personally scared, but I just I know that many people are ignorant about what's coming. You go out in the world and you go out and you look at how people are reacting to this current pandemic, And so many of them believe whatever they're told. So when a mandatory vaccine comes down the pipe, they're signing right up. Not me. This is a time where we've absolutely got to get closer to God and learn to trust Him, because the support system that we've leaned to is falling apart. So many different things I could say. You know, I woke up and I had a dream this morning, and all I remember from it was a song from the 90s, and the words were, "I'm going hungry, I'm going hungry." And I haven't entirely figured out what that means, other than there's a famine coming. You know, it's like we're starting to see what a pestilence could look like. You know, I think a lot of this is hyped up and whatever, but looking at what a pestilence could look like. Well, you know, what happens when there's famine, when there's lack, when the stores have nothing? What are you going to turn to? Are you going to go looking for stimulus checks and, you know, hey, government, I'll do whatever you want as long as you feed me? Or are you going to go back to God's system and rely on Him? Because the woman who gave her last 2 pence, He said that He gave more than all of them. And it's all because of how much she trusted. I don't have some giant theological sermon, but all I can tell you is that this is driving people towards trust in God, or exposing those that don't trust in God. And the ones that did, Jacob and Caleb, they wandered the wilderness for 40 years, and they saw the promised land. But the rest of them, they died in the wilderness, you know. Their bones are laying in the wilderness. So I know that God led me to this place, and it's funny that the sun's going behind a cloud, so I think that's time for me to finish my little thing here. But, you know, this is what unbelievers in the wilderness look like. These are the ones that didn't enter the promised land. These are the ones that didn't trust God. Okay? Be a Joshua and a Caleb. Trust God when everything looks like it's not going your way, because God is mighty and able, and what He promised He is able to fulfill. God bless.